Sep21. He was recently arrested for blockading an oil train in Everett, and he has dumped both parties of big business, the Republicans and the Democrats, and he's been running as an independent candidate for U.S. Senate. Please join me in welcoming Mike LaPointe.
Give me the mic. Hi. I'm excited and proud to be here. But it doesn't explain why I'm here. I am here just like you because I have to be here. I must be here. I cannot not be here. The time is over where inaction is acceptable. The leaked document from the United Nations has actually said that unless we act immediately, some of the results of global climate change by the end of this century will be irreversible. We can't fix it if we don't start now. I didn't want to go down on the train tracks and get myself arrested. I could have been happy at home watching TV, doing something, anything else. Arrest wasn't in my future as far as I was concerned, but I had to do it because unless we take the direct action to stop the corporations, the fossil fuel interests from destroying our planet, they will continue to destroy our planet. Our politicians do not represent us. They do not fight for us. They bend over backward to appease and do the will and bidding of the corporations and the fossil fuel industry. If they accept their money, they represent them. They do not represent us. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let them fool you. The bottom line is they don't protect us. They don't care about us. We have to take care of one another. We have to come together. The unions, the rank and file. We have to come together, the environmentalists. We have to seek out and find people who will run for office, who will represent the people, who will not take the money. And all these three entities have to come together to make this planet, make this country, make our community one that reflects us. I will not stop. I cannot stop. I will not accept what others plan for us. I will only accept that the will of the people be done, that the Constitution be followed, and that we create a world in which we are proud to leave our children and our children's children. We don't have that now. We have to tell the politicians that if they will not represent us, they will not be around any longer. The two-party system is dead. There are people in the two-party system who are still fighting. I say to them, time to look outside the box. Time to go with the candidates who represent you, will fight for you, and will disagree with you without giving you a load of you-know-what, just to get your vote. And that's all they want from us now is our vote. And when they have our vote and they get elected, they do what they want. Labor made this country. We need to stand with labor. If labor goes into a shop and 50% plus one person says they want the union, the next day they should sit down and negotiate a contract. And they should fight for green energy jobs, not jobs that ship dirty fuel out of our country to China to burn and make this an even more horrible planet than it has already started to become. We are the beginning of a movement to take back the country that we are meant to rule. All the people, the indigenous people, people of color, men, women, farmers, workers in the factory. We are America. We are the globe. We need to come together now and make the difference that we have to have because time is out.
we support all these rallies.
My name is Rami Khalil. I'm from Socialist Alternative. I was an election campaign manager last year for a candidate who is now a Seattle City Council member, Kshama Sawant. I've been active in the struggle against the proposed Gateway Pacific Coal Export Terminal, and I will be your MC today. We are gathered here today because next week, world leaders will be meeting in New York City for another United Nations Summit on climate change. Given the severe dangers posed by the climate change crisis, with our future on the line, we are using this weekend to bend the course of history. Right now, today, people from all across the country and the world have gathered in New York City for an unprecedented climate march. Unprecedented in size, beauty, and impact. Our demand is a world that we know is within our reach. A world with an economy that works for both people and the planet. A world safe from the ravages of climate change. Heads of state from around the world are in New York City this week, as is the attention of the global media. Today's rally in New York City is likely the largest environmental protest in history. And we are demanding that our world leaders act. However, we know that every single global climate summit in the past has failed miserably to solve the climate crisis. Every government, particularly the U.S. government, refuses to play a leadership role, demanding that other countries, rather than their own country, take the lead on reducing carbon emissions. Almost all heads of state are unwilling to implement policies that challenge their fossil fuel and automobile companies out of fear of losing out in the global capitalist system of competition for profits and power.
That's right.
Assuming the world's leaders fail to act once again, we can use these protests today to demonstrate that ordinary people and young people refuse to accept this insanity, and we have the power in our hundreds of thousands to take over the corporations ourselves and transition society to a democratically planned, environmental, sustainable economy. The good news is the environmental movement is beginning to make real progress in this direction. protest in history taking place as we speak. But this comes only 2 years after the largest environmental protest in decades in Washington, D.C. We have also prevented the Obama administration from approving the Keystone XL pipeline so far. And we've succeeded in preventing 4 of the 6 proposed coal export terminals in the Puget Sound region from being built. And we've convinced a large majority of the American people, 68% of the American people, according to one poll, to believe that, quote, the government must do more to hold corporations accountable for their pollution. We are really excited about how this event today came together. Less than 2 months ago, Socialist Alternative and our candidate, Jess Spear, organized a blockade of oil trains here in Seattle. Jess and 2 others were arrested, and we forced the city government to acknowledge that they had no emergency plan in place to deal with the risk of another oil train derailing off the train tracks. Now the city government of Seattle has agreed to come up with an emergency plan, and at that protest, Jess called for another protest to take place in solidarity with a huge demonstration that was being planned in New York City. Today, in solidarity with a huge demonstration in New York City. So just in 2 months, we organized this beautiful event today. So this is absolutely wonderful. We're also really excited to have both labor unions and environmental groups working together to build the event in New York City and in Seattle. So thank you all for being here for this historic rally. Please join me in welcoming Jess Spear.
Everybody hear me? Yes. Great. This is a really beautiful sight. You can't see how many people, the crowd going all the way back towards the trees. This is just a beautiful sight. This action today represents a new stage in the fight against climate change, inequality, and injustice. We stand here united today because we refuse to let the mega corporations, big oil, big coal, and the people who profit off the destruction of our environment to determine our future. To force us to take dirty fossil fuel jobs and further destroy our environment, guaranteeing our children will not have a safe future. It does not have to be this way. We will not let it be this way. We also face the disaster left in the wake of the capitalist crisis. Wall Street wrecked the global economy, forcing millions of people out of their jobs and evicting millions from their homes. They're still trying to force us to pay for their crisis. And these same corporate interests that ignore the science, that ignore the alarm bells, and continue slashing and burning our environment in their quest for more profits, they're building billion-dollar coal export terminals and directing bomb trains through our cities. And they have the audacity to tell us, well, we create the jobs, don't we? Better give us a $9 billion tax handout. Better lessen the environmental regulations, or we may not create the jobs for you. Well, we're here today, labor, environmental, and social justice organizations, to say we totally reject that false choice between a clean environment and good union jobs. Let's rebuild the economy around green technology. This could not only start addressing the damage of global warming, but also create millions of jobs, expanding public transit, retrofitting our homes, installing millions of solar panels, and building a new electric grid. But brothers and sisters, how are we going to get it done? I think it's clear we cannot rely on the political establishment. They've had decades, and they have completely failed. That just leaves us, all of us here together. We need to get organized. just like we were in the fight for 15. We need to engage in direct actions, just like the fast food strikes. Imagine if we had thousands of people blocking the train tracks until we had a moratorium on oil and coal trains. $15 was won because we built a movement. But decisive to that victory was the 93,000 people who voted for Shama Sawant. She ran independent of the two parties, took no money from corporations, and showed our movement can put our own people in power. Contrast that to President Obama. Millions of people had hopes that he would tackle climate change and walk the picket lines with workers. But what did we get?
Nothing.
Billions in bailouts for Wall Street. Refusal to negotiate a binding climate treaty again and again. And the largest expansion of fossil fuels in a generation. Clearly, we can't rely on either party. The Republicans are insane, and the Democrats don't do enough. They're both parties of big business. Yeah. We need to build a movement independent of the two parties. Yeah. There is no time to lose, brothers and sisters. But we're winning. We won 15. Yeah, we elected the first socialist in 100 years. Now, let's turn the tide against big oil and all the corporations blocking a sustainable future. Big oil is not going to quit until they've drilled every drop. They have enormous power, but what are they using it for? They're using it to blast off mountaintops to get at the coal. They're using it to crack open the earth to get at the natural gas. They're using it to pollute our land, our air, our water, and our bodies. What right do they have to that power? Fossil fuel corporations that stand in the way of taking action on climate change, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, BP, and the rest of them, these corporations threaten our future. They should be taken out of the hands of the billionaire CEOs and into public ownership. And we should be able to decide democratically whether our society spends billions on coal export terminals or clean energy jobs. Let's take power over our futures. Let's use the resources to build a more sustainable and just future. Let's build a society organized to maximize human happiness, not private profits. Where the economy works for the billions, not the billionaires. Solidarity.
Our next speaker is Bob Burr. He's an activist against the coal export terminal near Bellingham, Washington. Please join me in welcoming Bob Burr.
Hello everybody. I'm here today as a Green Party candidate for not one but two offices in Whatcom County. And I'm here to share with you a little recent history in our town of Bellingham to the north as it relates to coal and as it relates to our basic rights. In 2012, encouraged by cities on the East Coast that had passed community bills of rights, a group of Bellingham residents drafted and circulated an initiative to establish a Bill of Rights for Bellingham. Among other things, it would have recognized our right to clean air and clean water, and quite specifically, it would have barred the transportation of coal within the city limits of Bellingham. The initiative was signed by over 10,000 people, which was twice the amount that was required. Polling showed that 80% of the people in the city supported it, and our city council went to court to keep it from being on the ballot. It said it feared lawsuits, and its duty was to the city coffers rather than to the citizens. It said it did not have the power to fight the greedy corporations for whom the system is getting more and more rigged each day. After being deprived of that initiative, I went to Occupy Wall Street and Occupy DC, and when I returned, Occupy Bellingham was in full swing. Populated mainly by people who were stung by the city's action in rejecting the initiative. I try to work inside and outside the system. In December of 2012, I said that if the city would not stop coal trains, then I could stop at least one. Along with 11 other local members of Occupy, I was arrested and jailed overnight for laying down on the railroad tracks and blocking a coal train on the way to Canada. It was not the first time I have gone to jail for justice, and it will not be the last time. I ran for city council because of that and lost, and now I'm running for public utility district. This happens to be the group that supplies water to the Cherry Point coal terminal. I want to stop that. The global battle against climate change is one we must win. The alternative is mass extinction. It will be not won by a group or groups, but a lot of groups working together. We need coalition building. That's why I like this today. This is the start of coalition building. My hope is that we simply in the future will not listen to speeches and march, but that we will take direct action. We need to recognize that the corporations will never yield power graciously. Our form of capitalism is inconsistent with the survival of our species. We need to take this system down.
Thank you so much, Bob. Our next speaker is the executive director and the founder of the Backbone Campaign. Please join me in welcoming Bill Moyer.
It's so nice. I take off my readers and I put on the other glasses. I'm like, wow, they're all my friends. And I can see them, you know? And how many people were up at the border yesterday? There's something really beautiful going on. Does anybody feel that? Do you feel that we're more powerful than we've ever been? Me too. And you're all each other's heroes. We got Rising Tide crew down there and the Seattle University crew and Gaby there. And hey, Gaby. 3 ideas is what my friend Kit said. So here's an idea. We are in a moral battle. We are in a battle against paradigms. The paradigm of the commodification of everything and everybody to squeeze profit for very few people's advantage until it all goes to hell. Versus our paradigm, the paradigm of hope, the paradigm of life, the paradigm that holds human relationship, the journey on this planet, our families and our communities, and our obligation to future generations as sacred. We are going to win because love wins. And in a moral conflict, love is the principal weapon that we have at our disposal. And we love this place. The second idea, yes, is that this is not inevitable. The situation we have in Washington State is not inevitable with the trains. Trains are not bad. Trains are awesome. Okay? It's coal trains and oil trains and stuff that's bad. It's a colonial model that moves things from extraction to export that's bad. Did you know that in 1928 we had 4 times as much rail? If 15% of that rail was electrified, and that we were doing regenerative braking Prius style down the Cascade Passes? No, probably not. But now it is true. And so we cannot believe that we have to feel confident that we have the vision. We know we have the leaders and the creativity and the ideas to have a beautiful future and give our children a beautiful, proud inheritance. And one of those things is, that's why Backbone Campaign's been working with railroad experts from around the country for the last year. And we just launched yesterday solutionaryrail.org. Please note it, solutionary